The following is a fan-based discussion. All properties discussed are property of Toei Inc., Bandai, Hasbro, and Subaru Productions.
Hello everybody and welcome to a special episode of, what would you call this, Tokutalk?
I'm going to call it a Tokutalk countdown of sorts.
Okay.
Of sorts.
So,
Valentine's Day is upon us, and love is in the air for some of us.
I'm bitter.
Marcus doesn't like romance, so he isn't here.
I'm engaged. Still.
Forever alone. Anywho.
Don't say that.
No, I'm not alone. I have friends.
Yeah.
It's true.
Sometimes.
What is that supposed to mean?
It means sometimes we do Toku trivia. Then I just hate everyone.
Because he's a Pikachu now.
Because I'm a Pikachu now.
Alright, let's get to the point of this video.
Well, the point of this video is I wanted to talk about what I think are the best relationships in Tokusatsu.
And we don't just mean
Not just romantic couples, but also adversaries and friendship and ensembles. A family, if you will.
So, where are we starting?
We're starting with romance, since it is Valentine's Day after all.
Alright, what do you got?
Well, what do you think makes a good romance in a movie? I want to start by asking you that. In a movie or a TV show.
Good chemistry, well-developed characters, and the story of their romance is very well-defined. It's not forced, doesn't feel out of nowhere.
Toku doesn't do this much.
Nope.
It doesn't do it much, but when it gets it right, it gets it right.
Alright.
I think a good example of that, Wolzord and Magimother from Magiranger.
Fair.
I think that's a good example. Maybe you're a big fan of Ryu and Kaori from Jetman. Like we are. Tatsuya and Yuri from Time Ranger. Asuka and Mahoro from Aba Ranger is a good example. Sen and Umeko from Deca Ranger. If I leave any out, please feel bleh.
Marcus has a question, Oscar.
Yes, Marcus.
No, the Domon and the reporter lady.
Okay.
Time Ranger.
Okay.
They're a great one. They have kids.
They have a kid, yes.
Anyway.
General Schwartz and Greta from Tokyuger. It worked.
It worked.
I thought it worked. And I know some people in the comments are fans of this. Some of our fans are. Ryu and Akiko from W.
Get the fuck out.
They've got their fans, so I'm bringing it up. I hate it, but that doesn't mean you do.
If you're watching this video, we hate you.
He does, I don't.
I hate you.
I may think you're nuts, but I don't hate you. Shinosuke and Kiriko from Drive. Mizul and Gamel from Kamen Rider O's.
You can... She was a trophy. I don't think that was a very good romance. It's not...
I'm putting it on here because I know some people like it.
It's not the worst romance I've ever seen, but it's definitely not the best. I'll give it this. It was brought up more times than other romances, like Kyoryuger. Because... Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Daichi and Asuna from Ultraman X, and what I think is the best one, that's Daigo and Rena from Ultraman Tiga.
I don't watch Ultraman, so I can't really...
I do. Their relationship is established very early on.
What about...
And the way you see it develop over the course of the show and shows that follow, because eventually they go on to get married, it just feels so real.
But what about the meme-worthy Kujaku and Daigo?
Well, I didn't put that on here, but you can talk about it if you want.
Kujaku! Daigo. That's all I got.
Thank you. That was great. That was a great conversation there.
I'm getting thumbs up from Marcus on the screen.
That he is.
I'm here for comedy.
But back to Daigo and Rena, the way the relationship develops and the fact that the show is dedicated to showing it happen, it doesn't just spring it on you. Marcus and I mentioned this in the Tiga review, how it is a romance in Toku that is done well, and I think it's done the best out of them all of them. So what about you? What do you think is?
What do I think is the best romance?
It could be one that I mentioned or one that you can come up with.
Honestly, because I don't watch Ultraman, I think the best romance was Jetman. Was definitely a good one. And I think that is when it comes to Toku romance, that's my gold standard.
Okay.
Because I really can't think of any in Ultraman that were as good as that.
It's interesting you bring up Jetman, because Jetman at the time was essentially copying what other romantic dramas were doing at the time and applying it to a Toku. Hence, it was doing what was trendy, hence Gentleman Motuendi, as the theme song says. Yeah,
but it still didn't just say, here's a romance, go. It'd say, here's a romance, here's some drama about it. It
did a love triangle pretty well, I thought.
Not a lot of Tokus do romance well, and especially don't do love triangles well. And next month, we'll talk about the bad ones. All right, what's after the romantic couples? I know it's going to be a longer list.
Adversarial relationships.
Frenemies. I love
frenemies is another good way of putting it.
He put frenemies, that's funny.
In parentheses for some of these, because you have like Kota and Kaito from Gaim. I think is one of the better examples of this.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true.
And what do you think defines a good adversarial relationship?
It depends on It depends on how far are we doing adversary. Are we talking like arch nemesis, or are we literally talking
either?
So
like, break it down as much as you can.
Honestly, I go to Bosco and Marvelous. They have a history. They have a very legitimate reason to hate each other, and the back and forth between them is so good. And honestly, you can see how easily one could just as well be the other. You could see Marvelous snap and be a Bosco, and you could see where Bosco could have been Marvelous.
Okay.
So I really like relationships like that in terms of the quote-unquote frenemies. But then there is always just the good rivalry where they respect each other to a degree, but they want to be better than the other. So those are my preferred, but what about you?
For me, again, it depends, but the way, like, opposites attract.
True.
Is one thing, and I think one of the best examples of that is Zet and the Tokuuters. I love their dynamic. The fact that Zet is the living embodiment of darkness and nightmares.
And he's so fascinated by light.
He's fascinated by light and imagination, which is what the Tokuuters represent. And I think that's one of the best things about Kyoryuger. I think that's done very well there.
Tokuuger. Yeah. You said Kyoryuger.
Oh, whoops. Slip of the tongue.
Yep.
Anyway, Makoto and the Abba Rangers, I think, did this very well as well.
Yeah.
Eiji and Ankh from O's.
Yep.
I think is a great example of this, especially...
They are definitely frenemies.
They are definitely frenemies of the best kind.
Of the bromance kind.
Of the bromance kind.
Yeah, and...
the way that with Eiji and Ankh, it's a great example of like toxic codependency, which it is, because Ankh needs the body of Hina's brother for one, but he also needs Eiji to fight the monsters
because he can't
get the medals for himself.
Yeah,
and the way that's done is very well. And I think the best example of an adversarial relationship in all of Toku is Live Man and Volt from Live Man.
That's fair.
The way that, again, like going back...
It's the first line of
the very first line of the show, "Friends, why did you sell your souls to the devil?" The way Professor Bias corrupts their friends from school and turns them into monsters, and how he eventually turns on them in the end. And just the way it all comes together is so great.
I think another aspect of this we should really look at is just pure unadulterated hatred towards each other.
Yes.
Pure enemies. And I think a really great example of that is Red Buster and Enter.
Okay.
Is a fantastic example of this. Enter is such a suave, charismatic villain who has this plan that involves these cards, because I know you haven't seen Go Busters yet. He gets these cards that allow him to essentially respawn himself if they kill him. And he has put one in Red Buster's head, to the point where he wants to beat Enter so much, you catch Red Buster at the edge of a skyscraper contemplating jumping, killing him, which means killing the card. And then Enter shows the unadulterated hatred that not only does Red have towards him, but you as the audience have towards him, I think is something that we do not see in Sentai as much. And it gets really dark when Enter just says, "I'm going to put you in a coma so you don't do this shit again." So we really need more, I would say, adversaries like that of just the pure unadulterated hatred.
The pure unadulterated hatred, and getting back to Live Man, what they have for Professor Bias for what he did to their friends.
Yeah, that's what.
And just how broken they are because of what their friends turned into, that they were turned into monsters.
Yeah.
And how they resent having to fight them for that. And I think that's a great one. So...
but that's all I can think in terms of adversaries. We've got...
If you have any favorites, please let it jump in the comments. Let me know. And getting on to friendship, because it wouldn't be Toku without friendship.
How many times can we bring up Forza in this section?
I was going to say Gentaro and Everyone was one that I have written down. because that's the point of the whole show. You can't have that show without the power of friendship. I also put AG and Ankh for this one as well.
That's fair.
Because that one works. Shotaro and Philip.
Yep. From
W, because they are the 2-in-1 Kamen Rider. Can't have one without the other.
Marcus, don't you dare.
I'm over here being exceedingly petty, but you know me. I didn't say a word.
You're just being Marcus.
You said a lot with your eyes. Moving on. But no,
window to the soul.
And I do see you have Ryu and Guy from Jetman.
I do it, and I have them as my best one.
I can see that.
I would put them above W.
Really?
I would because of how their relationship starts and where it ends up.
No,
I don't want to get into it too much because if you're A, new to Tokucast, I don't want to spoil it, and B, we've talked about it so much in other videos.
True.
I don't really want to talk about how it ends so much as I want to talk about how it gets there. And just seeing them, the fact that like the first time they ever really meet out of suit, he offers him, I think it's like a cigarette or a handshake or something, and Guy just punches him in the face.
And don't forget the time they fought and they punched the car window and the window broke before any contact was made.
We've also brought that up a lot.
90s!
It's a thing that happens.
Anyway, another aspect that we really should talk about in terms of relationships is there are a lot of Sentai characters who are related to each other by blood.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another aspect. We've got all of Magi Ranger. They're all siblings. We've got also, in terms of the friendship, all of Mega Ranger. They are all really close friends by the end of that.
One that I really wanted to bring up was Mirai and Ryu from Ultraman Mebius. I know you don't, but I know Marcus knows this one. The way their two ideologies clash in the beginning, but then at the end, where Ryu is the one who is screaming the loudest as they're saying goodbye to him, and it really shows where they've come, and it's absolutely wonderful. So that's great.
Yeah.
But getting back to family, I think that's going to tie into our final topic, which is going to be the ensemble.
Yeah. So you've got the ones who are legitimately family-like, you've got...
5-man, Total 5, Magi Ranger, Ninja.
Thanks, man. You didn't want to be in this video.
I would just help you out.
I'll take the helper and get it.
All of those teams who are actually related in some way, whether they be siblings
or something like
cousins.
Go Sager, where you have siblings on the team.
Yeah. And... so that is another aspect. I still think my favorite are the brother and sister from Go Sager.
Mm-hmm.
They, I think, have the most entertaining relationship to me. But I don't know in terms of what would be the best ensemble.
I was gonna say Live Man, but Black and Green kind of drag it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Go Kaijur, I think, is a great example.
Yeah, a surrogate family of sorts.
Surrogate family, but also just like as a team.
True.
I'm more talking like working synergistically as a team and as a...
They do.
As a family of sorts.
They do work very well together.
They work great together. The Shinkenders, I think, do this very well in the kind of lord and subservient relationship that they have.
That started as lord and subservient, but then turned into a legitimate team. That's a very good point as well.
That's a great one. The whole crew from O's, I think, did this very well. Not just AG and Ankh, but the whole supporting cast as well. Mm-hmm. The way they all gel together.
The whole... like we were talking about with friendship, the whole ensemble of Forza.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one. Because,
oh, God, I still... that moment where a certain letter is read. I'm trying to be spoiler-free here.
That's fine.
And everyone's just breaking down. Mm-hmm. That really shows from where they started, which is kind of hating each other, to where they are now, which is crying with each other. It's just a very big moment for them.
What are some other ones you can think of?
In terms of ensemble? I'm trying to think of more Kamen Rider because sometimes it's a bit too easy. I mean, am I wrong? No. They're literally an ensemble. Gaim. Let's talk about everything.
Gaim's a good example, yeah.
Yeah. Because then you just have that aspect of just needing to survive.
And the way it starts out where everyone has their own separate dance teams. And the fact that they all have to either come together or blow apart as a result of the evil that's corrupting the town. Mm-hmm. And the way the overlords are corrupting Kaito especially.
Yep.
And how it becomes a clash of good versus evil, but it didn't always start that way.
Yep. There's some good ones.
Mm-hmm.
What about, can you think of any others?
For Ultraman, I know, again, not necessarily aimed at you, but Ultraman Mebius has probably the best ensemble ever. I think so, because every single character has a reason for being there, and just the first episode alone, where you see how these characters come together on this big day of crisis, the way they come together, and how they stick together throughout the course of the show is absolutely fantastic. I love it. Anything else from any of the other categories you can think of?
I'm trying to think.
If I'm going to throw one more for romance in, I'm going to say Garo.
Fair.
Between Garo and his lady love, that's that one was well done.
That was pretty well done. I'm trying to think. I'm drawing a blank. Been put on the spot here. Because I had one. I'm trying to grab it again. Thick.
Was it a set?
Ensemble. Q Ranger.
Okay.
Because it's such a big ensemble, you would think it wouldn't be good, but I think it was done better than I was expecting. Especially with Lucky being lucky. But
that's a fair way to put it.
I think that was a very well done ensemble. Especially when you I'm trying to think the words. When you doing Orange's backstory with his brother and that he was a undercover agent and all of that. I think that whole storyline involving him and Ho-Oh Soldier, I think it does very well in terms of a pseudo family type story, and I hope you agree with me when you finally watch it for the review.
I've seen some of it, but not the whole thing.
Just remember, the one who voiced Raptor.
Before I splash water everywhere, I think that's a good place to leave it.
You already did, you asshole.
That's not that much, you'll live.
I'm melting.
I was going to say, you're not water soluble, you'll live.
I'm melting.
Gingers burn easy, they don't melt.
What do you call this then, asshole?
A good segue out of this. Please leave a comment below. Let me know what your favorites were. If I missed any, please let me know what your favorites were as well. Don't forget to follow us on all the things, including Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Patreon, and Discord. You will find the link for the Discord on our Twitter page at the Tokucast. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.